Dust was killing this factory's productivity and employee health. Here's how we fixed it. First of all, had to identify the source, because the best way to get rid of dust is to catch it at the source. And in order to do that, we identified where it was coming from. In this case, it was a router table. So you've got wood dust being spilled into the atmosphere because this router table is routing wood. And so how do we solve that? We catch it at the source. So we put the proper exhaust hoods around this situation, in this case, the router. And once we hooked up to it, we put it onto a dust collection system and drew it out of the space. So that caught the source. Does it catch everything? No, not always. And so the second part of that is we need to exhaust whatever is escaping the local exhaust. And so a general exhaust is the next solution. And we put exhaust fans along the walls so that we're constantly bringing in fresh air. Well, does that get the rest of it? It gets most of it, but it doesn't get everything. And so the last part is to put big ceiling fans up, which creates a common, constant current that is gonna force the dust to settle so that it's not floating. Between those three things, you're doing as good as you can do in a situation like that. Any dust is, generally speaking, most any dust. There are some dusts that aren't, but in most cases, dust is explosive. And so you do want to minimize the concentration of that dust. One of the big explosion issues is it builds up in the rafters. And so that's because it's not being caught, and it's not being extracted, and it's settling. And that's why you have local exhaust. The local dust collecting system is the number one thing you want to do to get rid of dust. Sometimes it's not possible. So that's the other issue, is if it's not possible, we're starting to get in the weeds. And that's where the console comes into play. We really have to understand the issue and how can we minimize the amount of air necessary to solve, because air equals money. The more air you need, the more it's going to cost, both on the front end and on the operational side. And so the consult, we dive into the processes and we try to figure out how to control it in a usable way too. That's the other thing. It has to be usable. The dust in the facility was killing the productivity and the health of the employees, because if you got dust floating around and you're breathing it, you're going to get sick. Your health is going to go down, and then it just gets worse and worse. Also, you got explosivity. And what if this place blows up? You don't want that. So when it comes to solving that, we've got to extract it. And so we find out the sources, and then we get rid of it. With exhaust fans, it's usually localized. So we're going to local exhaust the issue to get rid of the dust. So with the exhaust fan getting rid of the dust, if there's still some leftovers getting around just because there's so much activity going on there, we will do a secondary exhaust for the whole space so that at least we're bringing fresh air in. Typically, the last part of the equation is going to be the big ceiling fan. And that is going to provide comfort, and it's going to provide kind of a settling of whatever dust is not being captured so that it can be swept up at the end of the day. So we installed this huge dust collector system with a very exotic ductwork system to collect all of the dust locally at the machines. And then we put in wall exhaust fans to exhaust whatever was not caught by the system. And then finally, we put a bunch of big ceiling fans up to create a constant air current that provided, one, more comfort, but also two, didn't allow the dust to just float around, causing a hazard to the health and to the facility. So I would say if you want to learn how to clean up your facility and address the issues, just sign up for a free training and we'll be happy to walk through it.